afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Olivia Mogan. I'm Head of Learning and Development here at BDO Ireland. And this is the fourth and last in our series of webinars where we explored the career and professional qualification options in BDO. Today, we're going to be focusing on tax with the aim of helping you understand the options available to you in this area of the business. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, just so you know, you can pop them into the chat function there, and we'll be able to get to them hopefully at the end of the session. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Tomás Connolly, Senior Manager in Tax, and Peter Traynor, who's the Education Delivery and Development Senior Manager in the Irish Tax Institute. So you're very welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Olivia. Thanks for having us. Thank you very much, Olivia.
No problem. So the areas that we're going to explore today are what a career in tax looks like in practice, the CTA training and qualification route, skills and competencies that employers are looking for in this area, and then also how graduates can get started. So, Tomás, I think we might start with you. For people who are new to this area, can you tell us a little bit about tax at a professional services firm? So what kind of services do you offer?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Good morning, everyone. First of all, Olivia said my name is Tomás Connolly. I work in the private clients department in BDO. So tax, unfortunately, is everything everybody encounters tax on a day-to-day basis. Tax in a practice is mainly deals with providing a service to Irish companies and Irish individuals who need assistance with either tax advice or tax compliance. So most professional services firms in Dublin have a great tax function, like BDO, for an example. The tax department is broken up into kind of sub-departments, where you've got your corporation tax for your companies, personal tax for your individuals, VAT, value-added tax, or maybe even an international function. So that covers like transfer pricing, or, there's loads of kind of sub-departments. Tax in a professional service firm, you basically have a client, an individual or a company, and you're giving them the service. You're giving them, you're filing their tax returns, you're giving them tax advice, you're giving them tax planning options. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what you do. We provide services similar to like a solicitor or a barrister to these Irish or even international clients.
Great, very clear explanation there, Tomás. Thank you. So, what does a typical day in tax look like for you?
Every day is different. Yeah, it's again, as I said, depending on what kind of sub-department you're in the tax department, the days can look a bit different. And again, with tax in practice as opposed to industry being, you're in a company like a Google or an Apple, tax in practice can be quite seasonal as well, depending on the time of year. So every kind of tax function is broken up into compliance, which is your tax returns you file for your clients, and then advisory pieces. So your compliance will follow a calendar. You might have different deadlines, VAT, corporation tax, or income tax. And then your kind of longer form advisory pieces then for your clients, which kind of happen throughout the year at different points depending on your client's needs. So typical day is come in at 9 o'clock or before 9 o'clock, grab a coffee, go through your to-do list from the day before, what you need to do, what's coming up, and kind of, again, link in with your team to see like what is the upcoming thing. I think as tax professionals, I don't know, Peter, you might know this yourself, we're professional to-do list writers. We need to make sure that everything is ready, what's coming up, what's about to happen. It's all planning. So that's what kind of the day looks like in a nutshell.
Okay, great. And I suppose our audience here today, we probably have quite a few people who are starting their careers. So what qualifications do you need to progress your career in tax?
Well, it's kind of the name is in the question. You need a qualification in tax, which Peter, I know, is going to explain a bit more, but you need a chartered tax advisor qualification with the ITI. That's a kind of a necessity. Now, other people in tax do have other qualifications, absolutely, like accountants or even financial advisors, but the tax qualification is an essential thing to have, depending on what your background is and where you're coming from. If you're coming from certain business degrees or accountancy degrees, there might even be some kind of what's the word I'm looking for, like exemptions there. But in my 12 years in tax, I've seen people from all walks of life progress in tax, whether they're engineers and background. I've seen animators. I've seen people from all different walks of life, English degrees. If they like tax and they want to have a career in tax, then getting a CTA qualification in tax is definitely the way to go.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So, Peter, we'll come to you, and Tomás mentioned it there. He mentioned about the CTA route, which is the route, obviously, when we take in trainees, we encourage them to take. So can you talk us through this qualification, please?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose the qualification is in three parts: part one, two, and three. There can be some exemptions if you're coming from a third level qualification, but assuming you have none, it starts obviously at part one, and there's four exams at that part, four exams at part two and a professional skills assignment, and four exams at part three and professional skills assignment with that as well. So I suppose the real big advantage of the CTA qualification is that it stays nice and broad for the whole duration of the qualification. It doesn't kind of silo or pigeonhole you down a particular route. It starts at the very bottom. So even if you have an exemption or you don't, it doesn't really make a difference. You start at the bottom, and it works up then through the levels as you move through the various parts. We like to say it's kind of the international gold standards of tax qualifications. Once you qualify, you can put that CTA designation after your name, and kind of wherever you go, whatever you do, you can kind of take that with you. And it's something that if you're working in the kind of, I suppose, the tax, but even the broader kind of finance, accounting sphere, it's something that people will know and recognize. So it's that, I suppose, reputational aspect of the qualification that makes it such an advantageous qualification to have. When you come in house with us, kind of we do everything. So there's no need to go to kind of other providers to do courses, or we only provide the exams. We do the whole lot from top to bottom. So we have expert lecturers, tutors, examiners who are kind of working out in professional services firms and industry at the forefront of everything. So kind of what you see that comes up in the, I suppose, in the teaching and in the exams is what's kind of happening in real life. And I suppose Tom's probably attested, tax changes quite quickly. So we do a lot of work to kind of make sure that students are getting the really kind of up-to-date qualification that they need. And our lecturers they're experts. They're there to help, and we kind of give every support to students that we can to make sure they progress through the parts and ultimately achieve the qualification at the end. People always ask, is it easy? But nothing ever is in life that's worth doing. So, but it's I would always say it's very, very achievable. And we kind of said we give you all the building blocks to kind of get you through the exams, and many people come out with a qualification at the end, which is great.
Yeah, okay, great. And I suppose you mentioned some of the areas like, the lectures, the support in there that kind of distinguishes the CTA qualification. And is there anything else that you think it would make it different from other professional qualifications, or why should students consider this as a route in their career?
Yeah, so I suppose again the key one that is it is a tax focused qualification. So if you for example, if you're looking at some accounting qualifications, they may have tax modules and they're all very good, but this is tax focused. And again, that's not to pigeonhole anybody either, because it does spread quite broad and quite wide. We have CTAs who are sitting at CEO and CFO level in organizations, and the top professional services firms as well. So it's if you're focused on that tax route, as Thomas said, it kind of is nearly a necessity if you're going to move into kind of professional services.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Tomas, I might come to you from an employer perspective, and you're a senior manager within the business. What supports does BDO have in place for its people pursuing the CTA qualification?
Just as a kind of observer, I've been around a good few professional services firms. BDO have fantastic supports for the graduates coming through that want to pursue the CTA qualification. It's in BDO's interest for the graduates to pass their exams. So a lot of time and effort has gone into making sure that they have the needed supports in place to do as best as they can, and the graduates can pass first time. So there's plenty, from starting from the very simplest. There's study leave before your exams, depending on your, as Peter said, part ones, part twos, part threes. You get so many days, so many weeks study leave to prepare for these exams. There are before you go on study leave and while on study leave, there's study days and exam support sessions that are put on by BDO. We get either internal professionals or external supports to give these lectures and questions, answers, that kind of stuff of anyone who is doing these exams. And then on top of that, throughout the year, there are seminars, tax technical sessions, everything that the graduates coming up through will need to keep up to date with tax. As Peter said, it does change from year to year. There are some changes every year around budget, but also on any given team, you have managers, assistant managers, senior managers, directors that have all come through the same qualification. They've all been there, they've all done the exams, and they're always there to support and kind of give help to the graduates where they need it. So a lot of great support there by BDO to invest in the next generation coming through.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So, Peter, I'm going to come back to you. I suppose it would be remiss if we didn't address this as part of an overall webinar because it's so topical in every area of the business. It's AI. And I suppose with the developments in AI and other emerging technologies, and they're changing the workplace dramatically. Can you talk to me a little bit about how this has impacted within ITI and the CTA qualification overall?
Yeah, it is. I suppose it's the question on everyone's lips, and I spend a lot of time in my day job out talking to students and out in third level as well. And it's, there's maybe kind of maybe a fear out there that it's going to replace CTAs and accountants. And I suppose we've looked at it, and we I suppose what I'd say to a lot of people is calculator and Excel didn't replace accountants. I don't think AI is going to replace CTAs. So it's something that we're really conscious of, and we're, I suppose, changing not our exam structure, but how we're approaching lecturing and teaching to kind of bear that in mind. It's probably not beyond the realms of possibility that AI will replace maybe some of the kind of the donkey work, if you like, that people would have done in the past, particularly around compliance. So now we're kind of changing some structure to kind of say that, well, okay, if that's been done by AI, what does the tax advisor do? Well, they're doing a lot of time reviewing and making sure that the AI hasn't hallucinating it. I think we've all probably seen that, in the early days of AI, that it can have a mind of its own. So that while you might do some of the basic research, having that in-depth knowledge and skill is really, really important. So while we might change and tweak bits, at the end of the day, you really have to know your fundamentals to be able to review, to have those skills, to be able to interrogate it and make sure that it's correct. So yeah, we will change our approach slightly, but I suppose it can't be missed at all that having the skills is necessary to be able to do that. But I think there's also probably opportunities out there for people coming into tax and pursuing the CTA qualification as well. I said, if you have that really good technical understanding, if you come in, you really engage in materials, and you come out a really top quality CTA at the end, you can probably carve a niche for yourself as well as someone who can maybe interact with the AI and use your skills as well. So that's kind of the direction we'd see maybe CTAs moving in the future as well. But look, it's up in the air a little bit, as everything I think is a little bit with AI, but we wouldn't see it kind of replacing too many jobs, hopefully, in the future as well.
Good to hear. And Tomas, I might just bring you in briefly on that as well. I suppose from a BDO or business perspective, have you seen any great impacts around the developments and the impact of AI?
Yeah, no, absolutely. AI came on the scene now in tax in the last 18 months, 2 years or so. And again, it's always progressing and changing. And I think, as Peter said, it's a tool to be used there alongside a tax advisor, not in place of one. With tax in Ireland especially, the smallest details change the advice entirely, or change the situation, whether it's, however long I've owned shares and I want to sell them, is this capital gains tax, if I'm resident or non-resident. And as the person who's using the AI, me typing the information in and receiving it and reading it, I'm the one who's interpreting it. I'm the one who's kind of making the decision. So it's a tool to be used alongside it, the same way a calculator will save you. Using an abacus, it's a lot quicker. But again, you do need the professional to understand it, interpret, what to say. Because if I type something into AI and I say Ireland and not Republic of Ireland instead of Northern Ireland, that could change the advice entirely, if you know what I mean. So it is very much the person who's using the AI is the skilled person, and it's a great thing to have alongside it. I'm interested to see how things go, but it's something that we use definitely on most days.
And I know within BDO, we're very focused on upskilling our people to use it in the right way. Like you said, know how to put in the prompts and how to interpret what we get back, which is really, really helpful.
Absolutely. We have our own BDO AI kind of model that, like, obviously is based, or it's a skin on top of it. I think it's Copilot or something else we use, but it's very good in the sense that it understands, it's secure as well. We're dealing with people's very, very personal information. So I know there's plenty of training sessions, and I know done by the IT team in here, that shows how to use it and how to use it safely as well.
Yeah, great.
Sorry, just if I can, just on that point you're saying about
absolutely
personal data, but it's just mainly to say as well that people invest in people. So people really want to have a trusted advisor in front of them. It's a really key point as well. That I think there's always some kind of a hesitancy or something when you're dealing with computers and AI, but people invest in somebody that they trust. So while the AI might do some of the work for you, if you're someone who understands it, can explain it, and can kind of say, Joe, hand on heart, I'm really confident in what you're doing here. And Joe, when you're talking about clients and people you're working with, that will just never be, in my view, replaced by AI as well. I think it's imperative.
Yeah, point well made. Thanks for that, Peter. So, Tomas, we might come back, I suppose, looking at a career in tax. And as a senior manager, you have a very good sense of what skills employers are looking for. Can you talk to us a little bit about those skills so that people have an awareness?
Yeah, absolutely. Tax itself in Ireland, it can be as complicated or as simple as you want to make it, if you know what I mean. But from an employer's point of view, the thing that most I find myself that is like a through line through all the good people that I've interacted with is, like, obviously it's not a secret, there's hard work, but a level of kind of professionalism and seriousness to understand the situation is always key. Anyone who brings just a level of clarity, a level of I'm going to take this seriously and do the job well, will always thrive in a world of tax. It does help if you're quite organized. It does help if you've got all these other kind of small things. You might be, a self-starter, a go-getter, that kind of thing. Obviously, absolutely helps. But if you've got a good head on your shoulders, a good level of, I don't even know what the professional definition of cop on is. If you've got a good hard-working ethic, I think you'll go really well in tax. And again, if you're interested in the area and you want to pursue that area, you'll always do well. There's always, if you've got the graft for it, if you've got the love for it, if you want to, and as Peter said there a couple of minutes ago, it's a professional qualification that allows you to be in the room and have those conversations. It doesn't just limit yourself to being with tax. You could move into, if you want, there's plenty of areas in Ireland that people see the CTA qualification and know that this person here knows what they're talking about, understands the situation, has a level of professionalism, a license to speak at the table, if that makes sense. And it brings that to a lot of situations. So if you come in with that kind of hardworking ethic, you should do amazing in practice.
Okay, great, thank you. And I suppose bring it down a little bit further, what opportunities are there currently for graduates in the area?
There's endless opportunities in tax in graduates. Like, I know in BDO, there's with the upcoming graduate drive is happening now very, very soon. The applications are open at the end of this month. If you get into professional service firm like BDO, you've got 3 to 4 years of a secure contract where you can learn and grow and really, really pursue that tax qualification, and then kick on into your, like, I'm assuming a lot of people here will be just out of college, and this would be like, or an early stage of the career, and really, really dig in and get a bedrock and knowledge of tax. It's the best place to get your kind of fundamentals of tax in a professional service firm like BDO, and like really like develop your career. It's a great time. As a friend of my father's once said, there'll always be a need for people who understand tax in the world. It's a fundamental that it won't be going away anytime soon. So it's a career, and it's an area that will always be developing, evolving, but it will always need good quality kind of graduates and professionals to come into it. So I think it's a great opportunity and great time to be moving into tax.
Great, thank you. And Peter, from your perspective, what advice would you give to students who are considering maybe a CTA qualification or a career in tax, but they're really unsure what career path they should pursue?
Yeah, look, there's loads of things you do. First of all, I'd probably encourage people to go to our website, the taxinstitute.ie, and have a look at the syllabus and our handbook that kind of goes through all the modules in detail. And it's got, you might pick out something there, so that kind of piques my interest. And as I mentioned earlier, it's quite broad. So, you might say, oh, look, that might not suit me, but the vast majority of it will. So look at that and see if there's something that kind of piques your interest. Outside of that, again, plenty to do. If you're somebody perhaps going into your final year in college and you have an option to do a tax module, dip your toe. That's a really, really good way to see, is it something that you might like and enjoy. We're coming into now, I suppose, as we move towards September into budget season. So as you kind of pick up the papers and stuff, it's kind of like, I suppose, like tax advisor Christmas. You see loads of stuff kind of cropping up the budget. So pick up a paper, just have a read on some tax topics and see, that might be like something I'd like to get involved in. Again, as I think Thomas said, it's really at the forefront of businesses. You can't get anywhere in business without understanding your taxes. So you'll get an opportunity to interact with lots of different interesting people, organizations across territories. So I think it's that broadness that is really attractive. But just look, maybe spend a bit of time, I think, just doing a little bit of research and say, that might be something that might appeal to me a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. We're coming close to the end of our webinar now. We just have one final question for Tomas in a moment. So can I just remind our audience, if you do have any questions, if you pop them into the chat now, so that they're there, and we will take the opportunity to address them for you. So Tomas, finally, you did mention briefly there our upcoming graduate campaign. But can you tell us how can students apply for a role in BDO?
Absolutely. Like similar to Peter, if they go to the BDO website, it should be very well signposted there. The graduate applications open on the 25th of this month, so a little bit over 2 weeks away. Follow the steps there, fill out the forms and whatever's necessary. And then if anyone has any other questions, maybe you can reach out to the BDO team. I know there is an info@BDO email as well there, so it should be quite easily to follow. And it'd be great to have a good few applicants. I know we do every year. We have a lot of applicants in, but it's always good to get as many people in as possible so we get the best graduates we can get.
Great, thank you. And I suppose coming closer to the time, we'll have notification about what careers fairs we're at the various different colleges and universities. So just, as you mentioned there, website, socials, best place to keep an eye.
Absolutely, yeah.
For all information. Yeah,
I know we do. We post a lot about it on LinkedIn as well, where we're going to be and what kind of upcoming events we have. So keep an eye for us there, or follow us on there as well.
Yeah. Great, thank you for that. So at the moment we have questions, so we'll talk to them. So first of all, will a copy of the webinar be available afterwards? And the answer is yes. We'll use it as part of our graduate campaign. It won't be available straight away, and they'll want to edit out any ums and ms that we've made in this, but we will be making it available on our socials and parts of it available on our socials over the coming weeks to help other people understand as part of our graduate campaign. So the yes is the answer to that. The other question here, one still have an opportunity if he or she has already completed a bachelor's degree and has 2 years work experience. Also, could you please mention the website again? Absolutely. So our website is obviously bdo.ie. Peter, can you give us the ITI one again?
Yeah, it's taxinstitute.ie.
taxinstitute.ie, great. And then somebody still have an opportunity if they've completed a bachelor's degree and 2 years work experience. That's probably a question for, I suppose, first of all, we do take on experienced hires. You'd still probably have to go through the same qualification process to gain your professional qualification, but it's probably a question for our recruitment team. So again, we can pass that on and we can get someone to get back to you on that. But Tomas, you'd probably concur that we consider all applicants, regardless of whether they're straight out of college or not.
No, absolutely. And depending on what their background is and their underlying degree, some might have more exemptions than others. And that kind of dictates the kind of graduate kind of route that they're going to go on. So I know myself, I did accountancy and finance background. So I had certain amount of exemptions. Some people had French and business, and that gave them a different, you know what I mean? So it does, everyone is different, and similar to that person who put the question in, they have a bachelor's degree and experience, they'll come to the graduate program with different kind of qualities and exemptions, but once they fill out the process and get in contact with our recruitment team, it should be answered very, very quickly. So but we do take on people from all different walks and backgrounds.
Yeah, I see that person is just added in another line to say that their 2 years experience is in taxation. So look, we'll pass the query on and we'll get our recruitment team to get back to you. I have another one here. Is there any point in doing the ACCA, CTA dual contract? Yes, I suppose it's a personal choice. We facilitate that. We have many people who are doing the dual contract. So again, Tomas, if you want to add to that.
Sorry, I was reading the questions as you were speaking there. So is this the ACA query? Yeah.
ACA, CTA dual contract, yeah.
We do, yeah. So it actually depends. It's very seasonal. So different years, when the trainees come in, they have the ability to do tax and an accounting professional qualification as well. It's up to them whatever they'd like to do with their kind of careers, but it is possible to do them both at the same time. Now, when I say both at the same time, you're not exactly hopscotching between exams. You do a set of exams first, get that professional qualification, and then finish off the second one. So I'm not 100% sure. I think it might be ACA, then the CTA. Generally it is, yeah. So that's the way things work. But and again, that your contract and your graduate program would reflect that then. So depending on because it can take 3 to 4 years to kind of get both of those out of the way. So yeah. And with the ACCA, it's not as common, I don't think, in my department at the moment. I know there have been people in the past that have done it as well, so I think there is an ability there and an opportunity to do both.
Yeah. Okay, great. We have another question here, someone regarding applying postmasters, work experience in US tax. And is there opportunities in this field? Again, look, guys, we'll pass these on to our recruitment team and we'll try and get back to you on that. Somebody else saying that they have 4 years experience in international tax and what exemptions would they have? We wouldn't have that information directly to hand. Are exemptions up on the ITI website?
Yeah,
Peter. Yeah.
Yes, we said we were our handbook online, and there's a exemptions page there on that. So I think they're for Irish universities or professional qualifications recognised in Ireland. But if there's something not listed there as well that you feel you could be entitled to, we have an exemption not listed process as well, where you can submit information and apply for an exemption, and then that's reviewed on a case by case basis. So yeah, there is a process there as well on our website for that.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I think that's all the questions that we have in there. Anybody that we have said we'll come back to you, we'll try and pass those on to the relevant areas and get someone to get back to you. Once you're registered for this webinar, we would have your contact details anyway. So I'd just like to say, first of all, thank you to Tomas and Peter for taking the time to join me today and give us a really good overview and insight into both the career in tax, but also the qualification to get you to that career. So thank you for that. If you are thinking about a career in tax or the qualification and you have any further questions, you can obviously send us an email, info@bdo.ie, and we'll pass them on to Tomas, Peter, or the relevant party, and then get back with the answers. So thank you very much, gentlemen, and also our audience today.